I met Carla Carlson at the Hotel Clarendon bar one evening in March. Since then, we've been meeting twice a week. Every 2 years, she spends 3 months in Quebec City, 4 if necessary, to finish a new manuscript. She stays at the Clarendon, asks for a room with a wafer-thin view of the river, the same one for the last 10 years. She speaks a beautiful French, and when she laughs, it gets even better. Her every word changes into a luminous, humid landscape. I put a lot of care into preparing for my rendezvous with Carla Carlson. Ever since our first encounter, she has never stopped contradicting me about everything, as though this were a noble and philosophical stance that sharpens our sense of responsibility and conviviality. Putting an argument to death gives her a pleasure she terms erotic. Some evenings she sinks into an inexplicable muteness, and always at the most strategic moment of a conversation, that is when everything finally seems easy, intimate, and conducive to a gentle relaxation of words open to metaphysics and to any other proposal that honors life. After all these years of writing, she has kept a naivete that allows her, so she says, to develop her storytelling talent. In the jungle of our conversations, she often talks about her father, about her way of walking around with him as if he were her property. The man could have been born a poet in Swift Current or North Battleford, a tall, disheveled man with Viking ancestors. He was built like a truck driver and looked like a dreamer. Over time, he had developed a quintessentially Canadian style. Carla could always see him standing very straight, feet planted on the asphalt of northern highways, his shrewd blue eyes sensing the satin wind, scanning the future, women, and the East, which always made him nostalgic, like when we watched time going by and the whiskey going down in our glass. Mythical and unfathomable, this man reappears in all her novels. Like so many women who grew up on the prairies, Carla has taken possession of her father's soul, meaning that she has lassoed the man like a erotic character at the back of her memory, has sentenced him to suffer her every writer's whim. She calls him the old man, father, or my papa, depending on whether pity, duty, or affection is pushing her pen, the pen of a woman too young, too old. Mother's silence. It's through the space created by Mother's silence that I view the world, that I learned that another world exists which I could dive into, laugh all I want, and exit victorious from any ordeal. I sometimes feel I'm sitting at the back of a large hall patiently waiting for Mother's silence to mold my thoughts. In this place of reverie, I also learned to not scream, to not disrupt Mother's silence, nor anyone else. Just as Carla grew up in her father's womb, I grew up in my mother's silence. And so every time we meet, I want to offer her a bit of this silence so she can transform it into a word adventure capable of dissolving the enormity of grief, the age-old mass of bodies, and of their fleeting presence by our side. Yesterday, Carla called me a passionate reader without knowing a thing about my reading habits. I think she meant I'm a passionate person, and the word reader escaped her like a glass slips out of a pen. It's true that reading is part of my life, that it brings me pleasure, but at the same time, it burns me from the inside, as if encountering my nostalgia, it ignites an unbearable elation in me. I envy Carla for not being dependent on events. Her world is all interior. I need the manuscript, museum, streets, an image of terraces, books. I envy writers who still today are able to use the word existence while licking their lips as if it were going to add meaning to life. My encounters with Carla sometimes make me feel like writing a chapter, just one. No novel, no story, just a chapter, a visual object with paragraphs, blank spaces, a vague whiteness of gesture as days go by.